The, the first team we're going to look at is going to be Mumbai Indians. The reason why I want to start with Mumbai Indians is because it's like peeking into the exam script of the topper, or one of the toppers, the other topper being Chennai Super Kings, when you're trying to understand what do the good boys and girls do that I can't do. So it's important that we start off with the two franchises that have been head and shoulders above the others. I mean, nobody keeps on winning so many tournaments just by being lucky or just by assembling a good team once. So it's very interesting and instructive to look at how Mumbai Indians and Chennai Super Kings bid. And I'm going to start off with Mumbai Indians. So Mumbai Indians has this year, I was anticipating that God's son would be bought back, and he was. It was fairly nasty for this other team to even try to bid up and try to take away 10 more lakhs from the Ambanis. Not that they're going to mind. They also maintained good mask discipline in the auction table. 1 point for them for doing that. And this was a very, very interesting bidding strategy from the Ambanis this time. They went, and I think one of the very instructive things was Akash Ambani later said that they wanted to be competitive this year, which means I don't think that they think that they can win this year, which is fairly interesting coming from one of the most competitive franchises. This is definitely what they have gone for, is definitely a team for the future. And what was perhaps they displayed very strange bidding behavior, which again, given that it's Mumbai Indians, I'm not going to dismiss as, why would they do that? Or they were crazy, which I would do if this was Kolkata Knight Riders, by the way, but it's Mumbai Indians, it's Ambanis. I mean, they know what they're doing. So you would see, if you were following the IPL auction, that they went for their old players. Most franchises have cottoned on to the fact that in order for you to consistently win the IPL, you need to have a stable team. So it's a great incentive to buy back some of your old players. Even if there are better players available, it's a good idea to buy back old players because you've worked with them before. There's a comfort level. And with somebody new, it will just take some time, maybe a year or two before that comfort level can be built. So it makes sense to buy back some of your old players. And you kind of saw a very strange bidding behavior from Mumbai Indians in that they went for their old players, several of their old players like Deacock, high-performing old players, and then they kind of backed out on the first day. It's almost as if they were kind of wanted to show that, you know what, we were going to bid for you, we like you, but we're not going to go above a certain level. We're not going to break our bank for you, no matter how valuable you have been for us in the past. So you could see them bidding, but their hearts went into it. After maybe 2 or 3 or 4 bids, they would just back out. So their strategy was essentially to hold out on day one and then come very strong at the end. And this was interesting because this was not what I was expecting. Of course, they retained the full roster of their players, which meant that they were coming in with less amount of cash than other franchises who hadn't. And they had retained Rohit Sharma, Surya Kumar Yadav, Bumrah, and Pollard. So they were pretty full. It was not that they had a lot of cash, just like KKR and some of the other franchises. But it was a little interesting. And I think the most interesting thing ultimately was that they went all in for Jofra Archer. Now, for me, Jofra Archer is a phenomenon. He's a phenomenal talent. I mean, when he's on song and when he's in fitness, there's very few batsmen who can stand up to him. And I can see where Mumbai Indians are going. I mean, I think they're missing Malinga. I think the structure that they want to build is to build their team around great players who can stay with them for years. And somebody of the greatness of Jofra Archer is perhaps the most likely replacement for Lasith Malinga. So I understand them going all in for Jofra Archer, but the thing is that Jofra Archer hasn't played competitive cricket for now more than a year. And I'm not sure as to when he will be ready to play competitive cricket. And if he's playing competitive cricket, whether he will be able to be the Jofra Archer of the past. The Jofra Archer of the past is invaluable. I mean, he not only gives you 4 overs where it's very difficult for the other team to score, but he will get you wickets. He will get you wickets in the beginning. He will get you wickets in the back end. So he is an invaluable asset. And I think he was, in a way, he was really the only good thing other than Joss Butler that Rajasthan Royals had for years. And in a team like Mumbai Indians, somebody of Jofra Archer's capabilities, capable of doing much more. So this was interesting, and Ambani's, they know business. So what they were essentially doing is they were buying a distressed asset at this point of time in the hope that they'll be able to flip it and make many more times that amount of money. It's a high risk gambit, I would say. And maybe I would have, since I'm not a Mumbai Indians fan, maybe I would have, if this was Kolkata Knight Riders doing something as insane as this, I would possibly be tearing my hair and trolling them even more. But since it's Mumbai Indians, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, because you don't win so many titles just by being lucky. You don't become one of the richest men in the world just by being lucky. I mean, there's some thought that goes into it. So let's now look at the Mumbai Indians 11. So they retained again Rohit, Sky, Bumrah, and Pollard. So what's their first 11? So the first 11, the first three, I think are the best in IPL right now. Rohit Sharma, if he's in form, Ishan Kishan, and Surya Kumar Yadav. Love all three, very effective. And they bring different aspects. So Rohit Sharma, more a sheet anchor. I mean, I like the opening pair to have one person to just go hell for leather and one person to kind of hold back and be able to essentially go for the long game. So Rohit Sharma, Ishan Kishan match that perfectly. One is a left-handed dashing, one is right-handed. And then you have Surya Kumar Yadav. So 1, 2, 3, amazing 1, 2, 3. Which brings me to the next spot, which is, to me, is blank. Who comes in next? I'm guessing, I mean, it has to be somebody like, it has to be an uncapped Indian. So I'm guessing possibly Tilak Verma, maybe Sanjay Yadav. Again, these are people who we haven't seen. We have heard good things about them, but we haven't seen them. And it's one thing to hear good things about them and then to go into the cauldron of an IPL game and perform. So this is the first thing that kind of strikes this side. Who's going to be the next person? So is this the place where the son of God, Arjun Tendulkar, comes in? I have no idea. Then the next slot is going to be an overseas slot. So it's either going to be Tim David or Dewalt Brevis. Again, a lot of hype around both these players. How good they will be, kind of unproven in IPL. I mean, Tim David played for Bangalore last year, but he didn't get a game, which tells you something perhaps. But Mumbai Indians is, great franchise. They bring out, the best in their players. I think there's no greater example than Surya Kumar Yadav. He was, a mediocre performer at best when he was in Kolkata Knight Riders. He just went to a different level when he went to Mumbai Indians. He was given the opener slot and he flourished there. So again, Mumbai Indians manages to bring out the best in players. So there's at the 5 slot, again, there is little, I mean, I don't see who's the natural fit into the 5th slot. There's Dewalt Brevis or Tim David. They can play only one of them. And then there is Pollard. Then I guess there is Daniel Sams. Then you can play Archer, but again, Archer is not going to be playing for a long time. And then in the spin bowling department, I think there is weakness. Mayank Markande and Murali Ashwin, none of them are kind of on the front line of Indian selection. And then you have Bumrah, of course. And then for the Indian pace bowler, there's a second pace bowler. You have Unadkat and Thampi. And both of them are, I think, not there yet. I mean, Unadkat, I think his best times are gone. And Thampi kind of never stepped up. So there is, again, summing up, positives, amazing 1, 2, 3 batting, opening, best. Good big hitting finishers like Tim David and Pollard. Again, Tim David on paper only, haven't been tested. Once Archer comes in, if you have Archer and then you have Bumrah, then oh my goodness. But we're not going to see it this year. So when that happens, if that happens, yes, it'll be virtually impossible. I mean, Mumbai Indians, it's a real contender whenever you have these people, these 2 seam bowlers, pace bowlers, 2 of the best in the world. But will this ever happen? I don't know. They're taking a chance on it. Daniel Sams, very consistent performer in BBL. I don't know how you'll be able, and he's been middling when he was in Delhi. He wasn't an automatic pick. Negatives, again, things like one slot in 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, 1, 2, 3 is great. 4, I don't know. That's a big negative in any IPL team. That lack of predictability. You don't know who's going to be there. It's going to take some time for somebody to make that slot their own, which kind of brings me back to what Akash Ambani said, that they want to be competitive this year. So that is going to be a spot. Again, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for someone to make their mark in one of the premier franchises. So, but still, in 2022, that is going to be a problem. Jofra Archer, very risky bet. Again, if it works out, it's going to be genius. If it doesn't work out, well, Mumbai Indians are going to have a bad next 3 years. So total number of points, I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10. That's mostly coming from the 1, 2, 3 that they have. And I'm going to give them 1 point more just because they're Mumbai Indians, just because they think well, and also because they have, I still believe, the core of their team in Rohit, Sky, Bumrah, and Pollard. So they have retained the core of their high-performing core. So that's it for Mumbai Indians. Again, 7 out of 10 plus 1 more point. I will be back in the next video with Chennai Super Kings.